Hi guys, this is Zach from Watches on You, and today I'm at Hudson Jewelers and I'm taking a look at the Grand Seiko SBGJ219G. So right away I'm going to go over this watch's 39.5mm stainless steel case. Now the case on this watch, as you can see, is done in really more of a traditional dress watch kind of style. You can see it's really all polished around, and it has a nice curve to the side of the case, as well as you kind of have a step on the bezel going up to the crystal, and just overall it looks very, very elegant and nice. The one thing I would say is, I don't really know why, but it seems a little bit kind of boring to me. Like, I would say it's kind of comparable in look overall to like maybe a Tissot Visidate. It kind of has that same kind of style to me, and I don't know, the style, I don't really know what it is about it. It doesn't necessarily speak to me in that aspect, but I do like that they put a little bit more kind of edges on it than in finishing aspects than a traditional dress watch. So moving now to the dial. The dial on this watch, as you can see, is kind of a black sunray dial, and it really looks nice in the light. I will say the crystal is pretty reflective, if you can see that on the lights there. Sorry about that, I couldn't really do much better, to be honest, but the dial does look nice. I love the sunray there. I like how they just gave it a little bit more a little bit different of an aspect when compared to a lot of dress watches that have either just a matte or a glossy dial. I like how they incorporated the sunray there, and you also get a Gmt hand, which is a very, very nice function. At first, when you actually look at this watch, you might think it's a handed date, but you obviously have a date window at 3 o'clock, and it's just a nice, I love how it has a Gmt hand. It's just a very, very nice feature to have, and it can be very useful in day-to-day life. Now, one thing I would like to mention is that there isn't really any loom on this watch, so if you're in the dark, it's going to be really impossible to read this because there isn't really any loom to speak of. You would have no clue what time it was, so that's definitely a drawback on this piece, and I really don't understand why they didn't put loom somewhere on this watch, as a lot of dress watches will still find a way to put loom in the dial. That's just one thing that I find pretty weird about this watch. Now, the date window at 3 o'clock, I like how they gave it a black background, fits the dial. A lot of watchmakers still will put white date wheels on a black dial, and I don't really understand. I mean, Rolex does it, but now it's kind of a part of tradition and history to keep that. So that's one thing I like about this watch, the attention to detail there. You get this nice contrasting window, which makes it much more easy to read. And the dial overall is just very, very elegant. It looks nice, very clean. The indexes are nice and thin, and there's really no problems there. Again, really the only issues with this dial is the visibility at night for sure, and maybe the just legibility overall. If you're just taking a quick glance, it might be a little hard to read the time just because of the different reflections and how the hands are really quite reflective. So now let's move on to a wrist shot. So as you can see, this watch comes on a deployant clasp, which is very, very nice which makes it very, very nice and easy to take on and off. You get this nice leather band as well. It's black to match the dial, and I like how the deployant features buttons versus a lot of deployants where you just simply pull them off. It makes it feel much more secure on the wrist, and it's also less of a hassle to take on and off. So this watch on the wrist is very, very comfortable. It's set on a setting right now that's pretty tight on my wrist, but there's really no problems there. The leather strap is very comfortable, and there's the deployant also. There's no hair pinching, no kind of sharp edges there. Feels nice. Case as well, no sharp edges. Molds to the wrist very well. I love the 39.5mm size. I think that's great for kind of a dressier piece. And I feel like this actually wears a little bit smaller, as the dial is a bit smaller when compared to the overall size of the case. Now, one other aspect I like that they put on this is they kind of made the crystal rise up off the edges and gave it a little bit of a curve there. It just provides a little bit more unique of a design aspect, which I like. So overall, though, the fit and finish of this piece is done great. So now let's take the watch off the wrist and go into the conclusion. So in conclusion, this watch has great finishing. It has Grand Seiko's high beat movement, which beats at 10 beats per second, and you can actually see it through the case back, and it's finished absolutely spectacularly. I love Grand Seiko's Côte de Genève. It just looks very nice. Now, one thing that's a little bit weird on the rotor is a lot of watch companies, when they do Côte de Genève on a rotor, they will put it kind of radiating out from the center, or they'll just do up and down like this. When Grand Seiko kind of tilted it like that, I mean, that's nothing bad on it. It's still finished great. It's just different than what a lot of other watchmakers do, and there's really no problem there. I like how Grand Seiko's Côte de Genève, though. You can see it kind of splits the light a little bit. You can see, like, if you move it across, you can see different kind of purple reflections or blue reflections, and it provides a bit of a more unique look when compared to a lot of the Côte de Genève done by other watchmakers. So overall, this watch is available for a new price of $6,500. Now that is, if you're looking at the technical aspects of this piece, that's a great price. It definitely compares in finishing to other high-end luxury watchmakers, but the $6,500 price, I don't know what it is. This watch just doesn't necessarily have the feel of a $6,500 watch. Like, you may have seen my review of the IWC Da Vinci, which is a bit cheaper, and it actually doesn't have an in-house movement, but it felt a bit nicer when I'm holding it. I mean, that might be the weight. This watch is fairly light, but that's one thing. It's just, I can't really put my finger on. It just doesn't necessarily feel like a $6,500 watch should, and I'm being a dress watch. It is supposed to be a little bit more minimalist and light, but that's just kind of my take on this piece. So thank you guys for watching. Remember to like, subscribe, and share. Thank you.